So you just to clarify, like you got away from that bad situation when you were with this animal, and I don't even call it animal because I love animals, but this demon guy. Did any of this activity ramp up? Because you said you thought it might have been his dad. I mean, did it ramp up?
It didn't once we got out of the house, but I did have things happen to me wherever we went. So there was always, there's always something paranormal going on, in the home or on the land. And so when we left that house, we actually ended up getting a duplex down the street from that home. And I'm trying to think, I don't remember anything actually happening at that duplex. That's one of the few places that I was at where there wasn't some weirdness happening. There's none that I can recall, but we weren't really there very long. The next house we were in, we shared with my mother and my stepfather, and that place was haunted for sure. Because I would be laying on the bed at night and I would feel, awake, my eyes are open, and I would feel somebody sit down beside me on the edge of the bed, but there's nobody there, right? And
that's a very common thing too.
That is. I mean, I don't remember hearing like any kind of thing, like any kind of audio haunting, but yeah, I mean, that was the most common thing was I could hear it maybe walking through the room, but mostly I could feel it sitting beside me on the bed at night. And then when we had our home, the one that he ended up, staying at when I left and, slipping into the coma in, I remember one night he was off, philandering or something. And our son and daughter were not home. I think my son was staying the night at a friend's house and my daughter was at his grandparents' house. So I was there by myself. And I was in a fairly deep sleep. And I woke up to my son's voice saying, "Mom, help, Mom, Mom." And I, like, if you're a mother and you hear that, you like snap too. Like you are wide awake. And I threw the covers off of me and I went running into their room. And I'm like, "Riley, where are you? Are you hiding?" And I thought maybe he was running from me. And I heard "Mom, Mom" again from another part of the house. And I ran into the bathroom and I was turning on lights as I'm going and I'm yelling, like, "Riley, where are you? What happened? Where are you?"
How old was he at the time?
He was probably 7. Yeah, probably 7 or 8. And I'm running from the bathroom into the kitchen, and I'm halfway through the kitchen turning lights on, yelling his name when I stop and I realize I'm the only person here. Like Riley's not here. And I've actually had that happen a couple of times where I could hear Riley's voice where it was saying "Mom" or "Mama." And but in that home, I remember that specifically. But we lived basically our place bordered with the Alabama Coshada Reservation, and there was I always got a weird feeling there. We had 3 acres there.
It's East Texas, right?
Yeah, East Texas. And I remember, I would start slipping into sleep paralysis, and there was enough weirdness going on there that I didn't want to fully go into sleep paralysis because I can feel it usually when I'm going into it. And I try to wake myself up before I fully get into sleep paralysis because I remember I was like, I don't want to see what could potentially be standing around in the room. I don't want to see it. I remember that happened a few times. I was like, nope, 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 nope. But the last time that I remember fully going into sleep paralysis was not long. This is several years later. Not long after Riley was killed, and I thought it was him coming in. Like it's like I didn't feel myself slipping into it. It's like boom, I'm in it, which never happens. And I was like, oh crap, oh crap, I'm in sleep paralysis. And I didn't see anything, but something grabbed my leg and kind of lifted my right foot and my leg off the bed and was pulling me down.
Ugh.
like pulling me down the bed, and I was trying to pull back, and it was pulling me like off, like scooting me little by little off the bed, like jerking me kind of. And I remember going, no, no, no. And I remember yanking my leg back, going, no. And that woke me up. And and then like that night or a couple of nights later, I had a dream that was so vivid, and the sensations in it were so overwhelming. Like I don't I, there's something, it wasn't a normal dream. So I dreamt that my husband and I were, my good husband and I were uh, in bed reading, and something like out of nowhere just grabbed us by our ankles and lifted us up onto the ceiling. So we're hanging upside down from the ceiling, like, and then it slides us very violently across the room from the ceiling. But I remember the feeling of something gripping my ankles. I remember this very tingly sensation. I don't know if you've ever had a ghost or an entity
Oh
like
yeah.
come into contact with you. You get that weird tingly feeling on your skin.
Yep.
So but my whole body felt like that. And I woke up from that dream just like still with that prickly feeling and thinking, oh, that meant something. Like, I don't know, that I don't think that was just a dream. I don't think that was just a dream.
Yeah. Your spirit was being pulled up. And it
Yeah.
takes a powerful entity to do that. If folks, if you want to hear about what happened, like go listen to the episode called "The Restless Widow." There's something touched my while I was asleep, touched me, and my whole side of my body like froze. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the creepiest feeling when they do that, and it's one thing to have it grab your ankle like it did that night. It was that same prickly, tingly feeling. This was my whole body in this, and I could feel myself upside down, like, and I could feel myself being jerked across the ceiling. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just a dream. There was something happening there. Um, but that place that we lived in, that was an apartment, that was very haunted. That was very haunted.
And what do you think it was about that place?
I don't know. I think it was. I think it was there before we got there. I know that the apartment above us was vacant for a very long time. But in the middle of the night, you could hear people walking around. You could hear furniture getting moved. But it was literally empty. There was no furniture up there to be drug around. Um, it was it was just unnerving. And then Riley, his bedroom, even before he passed away, he called it haunted. And he's like, there's something in here. He goes, I call it Bob or something like that, or Fred or something. But one of his friends like freaked out and wouldn't spend the night anymore because something grabbed his leg in the middle of the night. And that scared him. And it was in that apartment. Well, Riley was still alive. I was making the bed with Chris, my husband, and my side of the bed was closest to this walk-in closet that we had. And I very clearly heard from the closet, "Mama," and it was Riley's voice. And I looked at Chris and I was like, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "Yeah, I heard that." And so I went into Riley's bedroom, and he had headphones on, like the kind that cover your ear, and he was playing PlayStation or something, I don't know. And I, signaled to him to get his headphones off. And I said, "Did you call me? Did you call Mama?" And he said, "No, I'm sitting here playing games with, online with my friends." He's like, I didn't say anything." And I was like, "Okay, just checking. You sure you didn't say mom or mama or anything? You didn't call for me?" And he said, "No." So again, I don't know what that was, but that was the second time that, from thin air, I'm hearing his voice call me.
Golly. And how long did you guys stay there?
I was there for a long time. I was there for almost 10 years, I think. Yeah. I mean, when he was killed, I was living there. So, and yeah,
He was 17 when he passed,
yeah,
right?
he was 17 when he died. So maybe we weren't there 10 years.
Did you and then I know it's a sensitive question, but we're talking about it now. I mean, you and I have spoken about this before.
Hmm.
But did you have any contact you think that may have been him maybe coming back to say something to you?
Yeah, I do. So it was maybe a week after he was killed. I was our bedrooms were set up so his bedroom was right next to mine. So you walk down the hallway, you get to if you walk straight down the hallway, you would walk straight into his bedroom. But if you got to his bedroom door and, my bedroom door was directly to the left. And my bathroom was situated so if I had my bedroom door in or open and I walked out of my bathroom, I could look to the right and I could see his bedroom door. And I remember one night I don't know, I was taking a shower or something. And when I came out of the bathroom, I just kind of glanced to the right and I swear it was Riley. It looked just like Riley, kind of crouched down, not standing up full because he was like 6 feet tall. So it was like he was crouched down next to his bedroom door, kind of leaning against the wall. And I looked at him and I went, oh, like, oh my gosh, right? And he went, oh, like the same thing, not audible, but kind of like shocked, oh my gosh, she saw me face. And then he ran into his bedroom. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And I remember running into his room. I'm like, Riley, are you here? Riley, are you here? Because when he died, it was obviously so sudden. I always felt like he was right there. Like I could reach out and touch him. Like, if I reached out, he was maybe an inch away from me, like he was just right there, but I couldn't quite reach him. I always felt like he was so close. I think that that's normal with that kind of tragedy. Um, but I think that that probably was him, and he didn't intend for me to see him. Like he was like, "Oh gosh," and he took off.
It was weird that he wouldn't want you. I mean, it seems like it never fails when somebody that I'm close to, and even sometimes people that I just was strong acquaintances with. If I spent time around them, physically time around them, a lot of times they'll visit me. Like I'll see them in a
Yeah.
dream. Um, even like I'll take a nap or something like this. I'll start to get drowsy out of nowhere, and then I'll go into that dream state and I'll communicate with that person. It's happened so many times, I can't even tell you.
See, I
I've
haven't had that, and I would welcome it so much. I can't recall that I had any kind of dream where he came and talked to me, but I was hoping I would.
And that's
Yeah.
odd, like, there's so many questions about the other side that it's so hard to answer because I know that I had gotten adept at, like, seeing what would haunt these different places I've lived in, like, I could go to sleep and I could come out of my body and I would see it. I would see what it was
Hmm.
and even engage it, to deal with the problem, whatever it was that was aggravating me, like not letting me sleep or whatever. I know in the house that I used to live in, there was a lot of different things because I was told by more than one psychic that there was a vortex there. Not a
Ooh,
portal, but like a vortex. Like it was
yeah,
a vortex, like portals made like something can move in and out. A vortex is like a spiritual superhighway, folks.
yeah.
And that these things were just like jumping off and on, and then there were resident things there. And I like the way you use that word transient because I say that about the apartment. There were things that were transient there. One time, me and Nellie were laying in the bed talking, and we heard a crackling and then a pop, and then we heard like someone speak,
Ooh,
and we
yeah.
were like, "What the hell was that?" And it was like a female. I know another time in my vehicle, I heard the same thing, and it was a guy's voice, and it was like I was like, "What the heck was that?" And so when I got out later on, I was walking through a building. I was by myself that night, and I heard that same voice, like something behind me. And it was like, "Step here," or something, and I was like, "What?" And I turned around and I looked, but I kinda got accustomed to it, like, just I know that things are there. The other night, it was me, Anthony, and Nelly, and, where were we at, Anthony? I saw that thing in the mirror that looked like it was right next to me. I saw a face.
I think we were right there on 79.
Yeah, and Nelly was sleepy, and so she'd kinda sat up, and I said, "I just saw something right there." My wife saw something one time in the back seat of her vehicle that looked like a black wolf, like
Oh
the
my
head.
gosh.
It scared
Uh,
the crap out of her. But my uncle, when he was young, he saw something. He had just came back from Vietnam, and he had like I wish he was still alive, but he had a friend that had died over in Vietnam, and he had seen him 2 or 3 times. And he was telling me
oh
about it, and it
wow.
was a Native American guy that he was good friends with, and then one time he saw this black wolf come onto his property, and it was just like he realized like he was sitting outside on the steps smoking. Did Frank ever tell you that story?
No.
He was outside smoking. He was smoking the devil's lettuce. And then it turned out that he really wasn't. He was in a dream, but it was very vivid. He thought it was like, a real, like he was really doing it,
Yeah.
but he wasn't. And so he had this black wolf come up to the porch, and he had a house out there in the country, way out in the country, middle of nowhere. And this thing started attacking his chickens. And then this white mist, or fog, rolled through, and he saw his friend kind of come out of it and then become this white wolf, and it attacked the black wolf and drove it away. And he said up to that point, his property had all this paranormal stuff happening. He was telling me about it. It was back in the 90s. And then after that encounter, it was clean. And then he woke up and he realized he wasn't smoking and he wasn't on the porch. He wasn't, because he had these horrible nightmares. When he stayed with us for a while, I'd hear him in there like making noise and whatever. And so his ex-wife had told me for years that he was hounded by dreams and nightmares from Vietnam.
I imagine.
And so, he was just, quite the character, man. He was very funny. Anthony, we've talked about how he would just Thanksgiving and Christmas just make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
Because he was in a lot of pain, physically and spiritually. And I think his way of dealing with it was by joking all the time, being jovial. He was never a person that would sit there and just start talking and make you depressed.
No.
Even though he was living with it.
So he didn't want you to suffer like he did.
No, he was not like that at all. And he was a good guy, I mean, he really was a good guy. He was very fair and honest. My mother tried to sick him on me a couple times, and he was like, he just looked at me point blank. And when I was a teenager, he could have beat the crap out of me. He was a big guy. He was just like, Marianne, if I believed half of what you were saying, I'd knock the crap out of this kid. And he just walked off. Because she was like that. She would try to, she was like the mom from The Sopranos. So like, oh, this kid's horrible. To cover her face and then look through her fingers to see if they'll hit me or something,
Right.
And she was like that. But then when she had her near-death experience, boy, it turned her around. She became almost like a different person. I'm like, who are you and what'd you do with my mom? Like, who are you?
Right. It's funny how that happens with the near-death experiences. That happens so often with people.
Yeah. You haven't encountered anything like that? Have you had any experiences like near death, anything
No.
like?
Well, no. Probably the closest thing was being married to
Being married to Sir Machiavelli over there. That's pretty rough, man. Oh man. And it's funny because that particular girl that I was with, she was like, she goes, I thought you were the worst guy I had ever dated.
Oh, no.
Until I got with him. And I was like, oh, gee, thanks. She goes, you were like a lighter compared to like a forest fire, like, and because she, by her own admission, she was very sheltered. Her parents, she wasn't an only child, but her siblings were all much older than her. The youngest of those siblings was 10 years older than her. So she was like a only child, and she was an alien abductee.
Oh.
And so she had gone through all of this, and she had not really suffered, like, so she was around me. It wasn't really so much me. It was just the rowdiness of me and my friends. We were going through that stage in our lives. And it wasn't, but she had a jealousy thing too. Like, it was like, I wasn't supposed to be jealous of the weird crap she was doing, but if I did anything, and so I had that same problem with 2 or 3 different girlfriends of just the jealousy thing. Like it was so pervasive in my relationships that I just couldn't stand it. So, when I first got with Nellie, we were just like, look, we're not going to be jealous, and that was a big thing because she could trust me. I could trust her. And I just didn't want that. I could not deal with that again like that. I just couldn't do it. I had to break that cycle. And, one of my girls that I dated, wasn't a girlfriend. She was psychic. She really was. She'd proven it to me too. She could do this. And she was telling me, she's like, but then she started using it. She was like, well, I talked to Angela. Angela was her like spirit friend or whatever.
Spirit guide. Yeah.
And she goes, and Angela says, you're going to cheat on me. And I'm like, okay, well, Angela's full of shit. How about that? And I just,
Right.
But then I felt something tug on my sleeve.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa, did that just happen? So I'm not gonna. So then I told her, I said, look, I think you have a familiar spirit around you, but I don't think it's a guide. And if it's telling you that, then it doesn't know it's being evil. And this thing, like, and so one of my best friends, we were there one time at her place, and he claims he saw this imp-like thing
Oh
that
gosh.
had these long, skinny limbs, but it looked like it couldn't stand up, and it was like hopping around. He saw it. And so I said, "Have you ever seen Angela?" And she says, "Yeah, she looks kind of like a deformed, and she started describing this goblin. I said, "That where are
Are
you
you kidding me?
getting that this is a woman?" She's like, "Oh no, when she died in the Middle Ages, and this is what she told me, right? She said she died in the Middle Ages and she was deformed and they made fun of her and thought she was a witch." And I said, "No, this thing's never been human."
Yeah.
I told her point blank. I said, this thing's masquerading as a spirit of the deceased. It's not. It's a demon, and you're entertaining it.
Yeah,
So
so maybe stop doing that.
yeah, I mean,
Because
in
I
what
mean, I believe in spirit guides, but I believe that they guide you. I mean, it's so rare to have like actual communication with them. They just guide you. They give you information. Like, you ever know something you don't know how you knew it? It's because of your spirit guides.
something gave it to you, yeah.
Yeah.
And in your experience, have you ever seen anything demonic like that and like that?
Um, Probably the closest. Well, the closest thing I can think of right now is that little. I don't know what the heck that was. Like the little person, the little fae. It was definitely fae, in my opinion. It looked like a goblin. The
Ugh.
little creature that I saw walking along the side of the road in the middle of the night.
How old were you when that happened?
Oh gosh, this was like right after Riley was killed. So it was in 2013. So I was 40, just turned 40.
So and so there was this whole progression, and then you saw this goblin thing like walking on the side of the road.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, so it was an all female Bigfoot thing that was going on in East Texas. And we were coming back from investigations and we were headed back to camp.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, I remember you told me.
I was in the back seat of the truck, and the two ladies I was riding with were up front having a conversation. And we were inside the campground, and we were very close to camp. And there was, the paved road, not very many lights, so we just happened to be near a light source. And there was a little bit of greenery, and then the forest started, like thick forest. And as we were coming down the road, I saw movement, and I looked because I'm thinking it's like a raccoon or something. And nope, it's this little, impy goblin-y thing with a red hat. I mean, I guess technically it could have been a red cap. Um, and like just very muted forest colored clothes on, and it didn't look at me. It had a really scowly looking face, but it was looking straight ahead as it's walking, towards our camp, but on the grass, but closer to the tree line. And I just remember telling the ladies up front, I was like, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" And I look back and it's just walking, and it didn't notice me, thank gosh, because I really didn't want it to notice me. And yeah, we got back to camp, and mine was the first campsite you would have come to coming into camp. And I was sleeping in the back of my SUV that night. And I remember thinking, gosh, I really hope I fall right to sleep and I don't have to pee in the middle of the night, because I could just imagine me waking up in this, ugly little scowly face looking in the window at me, because it was walking in the direction of our camp. Um, Luckily, I didn't have to get up in the middle of the night, and it didn't, I didn't wake up to it looking in. I'm not saying it didn't look in, but I didn't wake up to it. Um, but yeah, that's probably the closest that I can think of that was demonic looking.
When you okay, and the last thing, so we can wrap it up. But I mean, like, and I'm sorry, it's already. I didn't even realize what time it was. So we've been talking for a while, but you have this encounter one time when you were coming home, and it was a werewolf looking. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So
But I don't know
technically,
what it was either. I mean, I assume it was a dog man. I don't know. But it certainly looked like a werewolf,
yeah.
like the Hollywood style werewolf. So that story, I was actually going to pick my daughter up from work, and it was, like 11, between 11 and 11:30 at night, because that's when she would get off, right? And so I'm driving down a pretty major thoroughfare inside of Dallas. That's what throws me off, is that this is inside the city limits in a pretty populous area. And I turn left onto the street, and it's a pretty affluent residential area, so the yards are pretty large, and there's very sporadic streetlights. And it just so happened when you turn off of this main thoroughfare, there's a streetlight like, I don't know, 30 yards down the road, and it was illuminating a pretty decent sized area. It was around Christmas time, because I remember there was a Christmas decoration on one of the yards that spelled out joy, right? Um, and it was a vertical decoration, so it was pretty tall. But anyway, I turn onto the road, and I'm haven't quite accelerated yet, and I am noticing movement off to my right, and it looks like a dog, right? And I assume it's a dog, kind of low to the ground and coming towards my car. So I don't really speed up, because I don't want to hit the dog, obviously. And I'll just wait for it to cross the road, and then I'll, hit the gas pedal and go. Uh, but then it changes direction and starts coming towards the car. And at that time, I get this sensation, like this feeling of dread, and it was just like evil, but it was coming at me in like waves, right? It was like, it's hard to describe. It's something you would have to experience. But it was just like this evil sensation, just like hitting me repeatedly, just washing over me. And I don't understand what's going on, because it's a dog, but I'm getting this like intense, like fight or flight. It feels evil, like something, like it's crazy, and it was intense. And the dog, had changed direction, or what I think is a dog, and it's coming at me, and I'm turning my head to look at it. And as it's getting closer, it starts kind of jumping, right? Bounding almost, and it's leaping, and it ends up landing like on the lawn, but on the passenger side, maybe 10 or 15 feet from my passenger side door. And when it lands like, I called it a runner stance, but like a superhero land, like one arm down and one arm up, kind of like for balance. And as I'm turning, and like all of this happened very quickly, I hadn't fully turned to look at it yet. I'm getting this evil sensation. There's something in my mind saying, don't look directly at it. You know what that is. You can see, like, you can't unsee what you're about to see. And I look at it. I don't look it in the eyes, but, I'm looking like at it, but not in the face, if that makes sense. And it leans down. It starts to stand up, but then it leans back down, and it kind of stretches its neck out, and it looks at me through the driver's side window. And my car is still rolling slowly, because I'm in shock. I'm insanely terrified at this point, and its head follows my car as it drives by. And I can see the snout, because it had a long snout, but it was kind of blunted. It wasn't like super long and pointy, but it was definitely a pronounced like long snout. It had the pointy ears. I can see the fine hairs lit up by the street light. And I finally break out of this, whatever I'm like feeling, like, stunned. I finally get over that, and I slam on the gas and speed off. And it's a dark road. It's got stop signs. I run every stop sign. I'm afraid to look in my rearview mirror, because I'm convinced this thing is chasing me now. And I'm waiting to feel it jump on my trunk. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this thing's going to kill me. They're going to find my car like with all the windows broken out. There's going to be blood everywhere, and nobody's going to know what happened to me. And it doesn't jump on my car. it doesn't seem to chase me because when I get to the end of the street, it kind of dead ends into the shopping center that my daughter worked at. So I pull into the parking lot and I turn around. So I'm facing the street I just came out, and I'm still thinking like I'm going to see this thing run out. And eventually my daughter comes out, gets in the car, and I debate going back down the road because I'm like, did I, if I can get somebody else to see it, maybe corroborate. But then I'm like, why would I, what am I thinking? Like, why would I expose my daughter to that? So I go home a completely different way, the long way. And we get home, she goes in, I don't say anything to her. And I crawl in bed and I'm pulling the covers up over, like up to my chin, and I'm still freaking out. Like my heart's still pounding. And I'm thinking, can that thing trace me? Can that thing track me? Like, can it get the scent of me from the car, and can it track me here? Like, am I going to roll up into my house one day and it's going to like pop up out of the bushes as I'm trying to get in the back door, And, and I remember thinking all of those things. And, I used to go running at night, and a couple of weeks later, I tried to get up the nerve to go running again. And I got like halfway through my run and I had to turn around and go home because I was so scared. Every scrape of leaf across like concrete, every time the wind would blow through the trees, I would like freak out. Like my adrenaline would spike, and I couldn't do it. But what's interesting is, I was afraid, to run through the neighborhoods after that. But about 6 months later, I had met a large group of friends out at Skookum Meadows out in Washington, and in the Gifford Pinchot Forest. And we were camping remotely, there was nobody around. It was dark, but I was not afraid in the woods there, but I was afraid to run through the neighborhood after that,
And
which is,
that's a trip.
yeah.
But my encounter happened in town too. So I mean, it just makes sense, like I said, my encounter happened in town, and I really didn't know. I wasn't like afraid to go in the woods until I started listening to other people around town telling me
Right.
their encounters that were happening on the edge of town or outside, and in the outskirts of town. Like one of my friends, his in-laws, had this predation that was going on, and when they staked it out and they saw what was coming into the pasture, they were like, "Yeah, it was the same thing you saw." I mean, I talked about that on another show, on somebody else's show, but I couldn't imagine like you're just because, and I'm not saying that you're not capable of taking care of yourself, but as a female, I mean, you don't have the strength of a man, to
Right.
even try to fight something like that. Not that I could myself, but
Yeah.
you know what I
Nobody
mean? It's
could
just
have. This
like,
thing was, like muscular. I mean, it was big.
yeah, you don't
Whatever
have
it
even
was.
a
Yeah.
chance in hell. I mean,
Yeah, at that point, male, female, it doesn't matter.
yeah, I mean, it just seems like though, like, okay, like a man, like for us, for me, and even you, Anthony, you're a pretty strong guy. I've worked out with you, and this, you go out to the car. I don't care. I'm not afraid to walk out there, you get to a vehicle, and it doesn't bother me, even though I hear all these stories now. I've kind of come numb to a lot of it, but I think about it when the females tell us these things, because you're like, dude, they already have to worry about some crazy guy psycho,
Right.
which is something I don't worry about, but like, but then they have to worry about, something supernatural. And even me as a guy though, and you've met me in person, Monica. I mean, I'm a little
Yeah.
bit lighter now than I was, but I mean, I'm almost 6'4", and 360 pounds. I mean, you're like, what are you afraid of? I mean, there's really not a whole lot that
Right.
you're going to be afraid of, and I'm extremely strong. So I mean, like, but I still would not want to run into one of these things ever again. I mean, people tell me they've seen this Dogman here, they've seen Bigfoot there, and in the last few years, I've gotten more, active and going to these places. But truth be told, I mean, if I see one, I hope it's at a distance, and I hope it's where I can get back to the vehicle and get the hell away.
Yeah.
Before it gets anywhere near where I am, because I don't want to. Other people want to see it because they've never seen it. Like,
Yeah,
I
once
don't
you've seen it, you don't want
yeah.
to see it up close
No.
ever again.
Hell no. They're like, hey man, if you come right, I've had people call me, and this is true. They'll be like, if you come right now, I just saw this dog, man, and it's only 25 miles from where you're at. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, you know what? That's interesting. Tomorrow when
story.
it's not around and you're safe, call me and tell me all about it because
Right.
I know it exists. I don't need to run over there. And folks, I'm telling you right now, pull out your camera and the photo will be blurry. I'm not even
Well,
joking. If you try to record it, it will look like a blur or like this Predator effect, like from the movie Predator.
yeah.
I kid you not. It happens every time.
If you even have the state of mind, I mean, you're so shocked at what you're seeing, or you're stunned by this sensation like I was having, like that evil feeling out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking about picking up a phone. I could have picked up my phone and taken a photo, but that's not what's on my mind.
No, get the
Survival.
hell out of there.
Yeah. You're like literal fight or flight, and I was wanting to flight after the stun wore off. But you also are like, what is like what? You're just stunned by what you're seeing as well.
Yeah, I don't
You know,
understand the whole like I hope to see one day thing. I mean, like I'll say this. At best, let's hope to see one through a celestron telescope.
yeah,
Let's start there with hoping for that.
Yeah.
yeah. Where I'm downwind and I'm seeing it through binoculars from a pretty good distance. I'd be
Yeah.
okay. Because they move fast
They
and
do.
weird, and if that thing wants to mess you up, you're toast. Like you can't fight this.
And I think that the reason that you saw it, there's two things here. One, the reason that you saw it is because you're on that vibration, on that wavelength. You've seen all these things. And then two, I think that you and I guess this is more of a question. What do you think it was? Was it a werewolf? Was it a skinwalker? A
See, that's just
shapeshifter?
it.
You
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
have a
I don't
feeling
know
about
what
it?
the heck it was.
Like no feeling or maybe like an opinion?
I don't. Well, I mean, I want to say it's a Dogman, but where did it come from? I'm in a very urban area of Dallas. Where's this thing hiding? This thing was huge. There's no way it's hiding in the daylight,
Mm.
And I'm very reluctant to, say it pops in and out of dimensions, but heck, maybe it does. Because again, where did this thing come from?
Yeah, I'm not reluctant to say that. That's exactly what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my friend was trying to be like, see, it's more than paranormal. He goes, it's interdimensional. It's got to be Monica. And I, even though I have no explanation for where this thing came from, it's still hard for me to say that.
And now
Even
that
though that really kind of makes the most sense. I mean, I guess it could be a skinwalker, but I have a hard time believing that the skinwalkers really are transforming like that, because they're witches at the end of the day. They're people. They're human, like you and me. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's just it's a hard pill for me to swallow to say that somebody's going to physically transform like that.
Well, the transformation thing too. Multiple people who've seen it, who've told us, and there have been people who've been all over the internet for years. J.C. Johnson, I mean, he saw it.
Yeah, I knew JC.
And
He was
David
cool.
Weatherly, different people who've claimed to, I mean, if you take into consideration what they've said, and of course, I've interviewed a couple hundred people who claim to have seen transformations of some kind, maybe even more. I mean, we had a guy literally come on the show and say he saw a pig turn into a person. I mean,
Yeah.
and he was just very matter of fact about it. He wasn't playing around. He just said, "Look, this is what I saw. I didn't, I was hiking and I saw this. He was from a hunting forum, right?
Like I said, I'm not saying they don't happen. It's just a hard pill for me to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for anybody, but I mean, how does it happen? I've never seen it, but people have seen people shape-shifting from reptilians, going from human into some sort of like, the only thing that could be described as some sort of ugly vampiric looking thing, or, Lechusa, like this big bird like thing, or this werewolf looking creature, or even deer. People have claimed to see deer, like they call them not deer, but
Yeah.
it to me, from what people have said, I think is the best explanation is that it happens. You can't really comprehend it. And the way it happens, it's so fluid. It's not this long American Werewolf in London with the hands extending all kinds of ways. And when it does happen in that sense, it's brief and it's kind of like it's happening, then it gets stuck, almost like one guy described it to me like this. He said it was like a computer program where it kind of froze up, and then it kind of, it elongated the transformation, and then it just went real quick. Like
Huh,
it was happening
that's
real
interesting.
fast, and then it just kind of slowed down, like there was a glitch, and then it just went boom, 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 and the person was all of a sudden, a 7.5 foot tall wolf-like
Oh,
creature.
God.
And,
Yeah.
and he said that and he was telling this story. I haven't told this on the show before, but it's coming. And there's this woman that he was dating, and this happened right outside of San Antonio. And this woman, she was practicing witch. She was doing brujeria, and he went over there to confront her with two of his friends. And his one friend got tired of the arguing back and forth and left. She said, "Look, my boyfriend's about to be back. He's out hunting. And when he comes back, you're going to be in trouble, and he's going to do this and do that." And he said, "I don't care. I'm tired of you and your weird crap." Because she had left a dead bird at his house, and he knew it was her. She tied it to a tree. And so there's a lot more to it. But then this guy comes around the corner from the back, and he just starts popping and locking, like he's doing some kind of hip hop dance. And next thing you know, he's this werewolf, and his friend still to this day is in denial. He doesn't believe that it was a man. It was just a giant wolf, and it stood up on its hind legs. He's like, "That's not what I saw." He's like, "I saw a dude." And then later he saw this guy working security at this food park where they have trucks and stuff. And he
Yeah.
came up to him and confronted him. He was a normal sized guy. And he goes, "Did you like that trick?" He's like, "I can do it again."
Now that's okay.
And he was like, "Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. You and Samantha have fun with that.
Yeah.
The brujeria, whatever." And he was like, this guy was a security guard that did it. And he did it in front of him, and his friend still couldn't wrap his mind around what he saw. But it was like it happened really quick, and the lower body was there. Then it kind of slowed down. Then it was boom, boom. And then it was like, he said it was almost like he glitched. He goes, it doesn't happen the way, and that's just one person's detailed story. We've heard a bunch, and I've never seen a transformation. Now, recently, a guy sent me a video, and this is about the 100th video I've seen, but it's pretty compelling. Like his neck elongates. I don't even know what I'm looking
That's
at.
creepy.
It's so weird. And then his throat bulges out, and you're kind of like, what? And
Oh.
but now, with AI, but it's still hard. The AI video is still not quite there yet. So
Yeah.
it looks compelling, and then there's this photos of him, and I've seen these before. I counted the other day. There are 14 photos, different people. These are all different people. There's 14 different people in the last 4 years, going back to 2020. Well, this is a 25 now, so the last 5 years now, who've sent me photos. Don't have any from 2019 that I saw, but in the computer where there was 14 different people. And the photos that they take of themselves, like because once they get to a certain point, they can't use their hands for the camera anymore, right?
Right.
And they all look like this fuzzy, weird, like I can send you a picture of one because the person gave me permission. I'll send it to you,
Okay.
and it is bizarre, folks. I'm not even joking. I'm like, what? And another guy who recently he claims he's going to come on. He said he's going to come on. He's a part of the lycanthropy camp, and he said he's going to come on, and he's going to. He was born that way. I'm assuming. I think he was like the union of two of them because they can
Yeah.
make but he was born that way. Like he can do it naturally, and I think it could be different. For everybody. I talked to a skinwalker one time who was a practicing medicine man and told me point blank, like, look, I break into people's houses. I do this, I do that. I'm going like, oh my gosh, this guy, it sounds like the Night Stalker, but like as a werewolf. I mean, the guy just
Oh.
very proud of what he's done. And then told me if I ever said his name, he was going to do something. I said, I'm not going to say your name. I don't even want to say anybody's name on here because then it just becomes a big problem. But he's doing these things. He's out in Arizona. He's out in Arizona.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It's just so much of this. It's so weird. And I know what I've seen, and I myself have done weird things. Like I don't know where it comes from. I got several friends that can attest to this, dude. Like, I got really angry one time at this person at the mall, and I just imagined, like, I just in my mind, and Anthony, you've heard us tell this story. I know what you're talking. You're going to know what I'm talking about. I imagined the glass breaking at the Gap, like shattering, because there was this person working that pissed me off. And when I imagined it, there was this huge crack in the glass. It went from the floor up to the top. And I was with Jerome, I was with Willie, Diablo, and Scorpion. They all saw it, and three of those guys are still alive. And I mean, they all have said they're like, because I was just like, I lifted up my hand and I just squeezed my hand, and that person fell back. And he was folding clothes. It was this person that just pissed me off real bad. And I let him slide after that because it scared me, and then the glass cracked, right? Because this person owed us money and he was playing games. He's a former friend. And I just was like, and there's more to it than that, whatever. And so he had this situation with this girl, and he wouldn't leave her alone. And she was a friend of mine, and he also owed me money, and he got real. And at that moment, I wanted to slap him into another reality, but I couldn't because there's like mall security there, which I knew they had a security there. I wasn't going to do that. And there was workers and people around. So when I turned around, I was so angry. I squeezed my hand, and the glass there was a big crack. And I thought, did I do that? To this day, I've tried to debate, like maybe it was like a coincidence or something.
Right.
And then another time I was like messing around with we were playing quarters, when you're drinking that game,
Yeah.
I was 22, I think I was 22. And I jokingly told one of my friends, and now this was in that haunted house, so it could have been something spiritual that happened, but I said, I can move my hand and make that quarter fly across the table. And they were like, go ahead. And I did it once, and I said, I just kind of laughed because I wasn't actually trying to do it. And while I'm sitting there, I imagined the quarter doing it, and then it did it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, dude. So I don't know, man. And then there was another thing in a theater one time where this cup that was in my cup holder flew forward. My brother was there. There were several friends of mine that saw it, and I don't know how that happened. I don't know what that was. I don't know that I wasn't thinking like, I'm going to make this cup go flying 2 rows in front of me. But the people that were 2 rows in front of me were pissing me off because they kept talking, and they turned around and basically just scowled at me and my friends and acted like he was trying to play like he was tough or something. And I just and without moving my hands, I just sat with my arms crossed. The cup flew up and landed on them.
Huh.
And the contents basically poured out on them. And so they jumped up ready to fight because they thought that I had literally thrown it. And I was in shock. I was like, whoa, how did that just happen? So we stood up, and then they looked at us, and they realized because we were all sitting down, they should probably sit down and shut up. So they did. And the guy just went and got napkins, and we thought he was going to tell on us. So I walked out of the theater, and I told the guy, I said, look, I didn't do that. He goes, well, one of y'all did. And he goes, look, it's fine, whatever. And then he just walked back inside. And I was just as baffled as he was, or everybody around me. So when we left the theater, my brother was like, how did you do that? And I said, I don't know. I don't think I did do it. I don't know. So weird things can happen. And I've had many people message me with stories like that. Like, I think I did this, but I'm not for sure. We don't really know how the human mind works with the spirit-mind connection. We just know that it does. And there are people who can do things and manipulate things. And, one time we were all hanging out with some friends. Of course, we were inebriated, so it could have been something, I don't know, mass hallucination is that's the only thing I could think of if it's, but we saw a friend of mine's eyes begin to glow, and it was so weird, and it didn't stop for like 20 minutes. This was back in the 90s. We didn't have cell phones, but it was like, whoa, what the hell? Like, and he was like, he couldn't explain why it was happening. His eyes were glowing red.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
No.
weird.
No.
Weird stuff, right? So anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to Monica, Anthony, myself. Monica, some great conversation. I know it wasn't all paranormal. We got a little sidetracked over the last, I guess it would be 3 episodes now, but like talking about, bad people, in life in general. Stuff happens, but you talk really well. That's why you have a good show. Everybody go check it out.
Thank you.
Paranormal World with Monica, not the Australian Monica, the real one, the real Monica.
Yeah, the real one, the at Monica's Paranormal World. If you're looking for me on YouTube,
Thursday nights, right?
At 10 p.m. Central. Yep.
Thursday nights is when it happens, folks. 10 p.m. Central. Check her out, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to check out all of our amazing content. I say it's amazing. I don't know.
That's good. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and we're actually in. By the time this is, I don't know if it'll be done yet, but my wife is actually working on the Amazing Dumb. And if anybody who's a listener to the show, I know all the Patreon people, when we go to do the Patreon show, they know what that is. They want a shirt for that, the Amazing Dumb. It's a lizard with a little lizard that I trained to steal. He has a little backpack. It's not real. It's not real. But I told that story on the show, because somebody typed on there, "I'm amazing dumb." And so I said, "No, what's amazing dumb?" And I told them a story about a lizard that I trained as a coke mule. I was joking. It was an absolute joke, and it just took on a life of its own. But yes, those shirts will be available soon if they're not already by the time that this is being played. Patreon members, don't forget, we're going to be doing shows with you every other Monday, unless it takes off by the time this plays, and maybe every Monday. I don't know. So, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Go to Monica's channel, like and subscribe at Monica's Paranormal World. She does a great job. She's going to come back. We're going to bring her back, and we're going to talk about some myths and legends and let her go and talk about goblins and fairies and all this mythological stuff. I've listened to her show and listened to her talk about these things. I can listen all night. It's great. So go check it out, folks. Thank you for listening, and good night.